All right. Well, good morning, everybody. We're going to get started with today's agent development training. I am broadcasting live here from Elkhart, Indiana, and we're actually hosting our new agent development training. So on the other side of the camera is a room full of people who are actually watching ADT live today. Some new agents getting started. So welcome to all of you in the room. Some of you, this might be your first agent development training that you've sat in on. Obviously, this is something we try to do every Tuesday, whether I can do it or not. Usually, Steve or Sandra or somebody steps in my absence. So, we're going to continue this up through the annual enrollment, open enrollment season. And candidly, we'll probably continue it through that time as well. I think it's important to give, especially newer agents, some tether points throughout the week and some opportunities to engage and get better understanding on what's going on in the markets. And this is one way that we can push that information out. So, really appreciate you all being here. My trusty sidekick, Steve Cavajola, is always here to help as well. So, Cav, appreciate you being here. Sandra's not with us today. Sandra is actually traveling. She's in Hawaii for the week with her husband, and I think another couple they're traveling with. So, hopefully they're having a good time there. I do know they dodged the hurricane that came through, and they were not impacted by that, but they obviously saw some of the devastation. I was kind of tracking her on her social media posts with that. I'm really, really excited about today's session, though. We are continuing our summer speaker series, and I have a gentleman joining us who, candidly, I've been wanting to interview in this format for a long time. The gentleman joining us today is Mr. AJ Sandlin. AJ actually works out of, he's based out of the Indianapolis market. He works with Mike Wayner's team down in Indianapolis, but he's currently living in Chicago and I think commuting back and forth to do business in Indianapolis. And he recently engaged, and so we'll ask him a little bit about that and what his fiance is doing in Chicago. But AJ, we really, really appreciate you being here with us today. Thanks for agreeing to jump in and kind of talk to me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Silas. I'm excited.
So I've got to give a little bit of background because many people on the call probably don't know how long we've actually known each other. I would peg it right around 25 years. And honestly, so give you guys a little background. When I started in the business 25 years ago, I was recruited into this business by a gentleman named Tom Sandlin. He was the first person who introduced me to the insurance world. He brought me into the business. He and Steve Cavajola were my two mentors and trainers in the business. Tom and I developed a friendship and a business partnership, and we worked very, very closely together until Tom retired in 2018. And during all those years that I had the opportunity to work with Tom, I knew his son, AJ Sandlin. And so AJ has actually been in the business probably a longer percentage of his life than anybody else in our territory, at least around the business. And so he's seen a lot. He graduated from my alma mater, which was Butler University, and did really, really well in school there. Has been heavily involved in music over the years, but ultimately, after college or right at the end of college, he decided that he wanted to join the health markets team and begin to build his practice here. And so, for me, this is kind of a full circle moment, honestly. I'm eternally thankful and grateful to Tom Sandlin for bringing me into this business and giving me the opportunity that he gave me 25 years ago. Tom and I still stay in touch. We were texting this last weekend. I still consider him to be a close friend, if not, a business partner any longer. But now that I have the opportunity to work with AJ, this is just something really special for me personally. So AJ, again, thanks for being here. I'd love to just kind of open it up and just give you the floor for a minute to tell us a little bit about your background, how you came into the business. Obviously, there's a lot there, but at this point, you've established yourself in the business. You become a tier three agent on your way to tier four. I'd love to just hear a little bit more about your health market story.
Yeah, so I think I've been with health markets about 25 years, like you said. No, but I have been around it my whole life, kind of seen the power of it and what it does for people. It's pretty amazing. But grew up in Elkhart, went to Concord High School, ultimately graduated there in 2014, went to Butler, like Silas said, got a degree in actuarial science. So I always tell people I was, going to be in the insurance world some way, shape, or form, certainly with that degree. And then kind of as I was graduating from Butler in 2018, music had become a huge part of my life. And I really wanted to pursue music and see if I could kind of make something happen there. And it made great headway But music is a very tough industry to be in. Let me tell you, it's hard to get going. And it was really neat to have kind of this career starting to build over those years as I was tackling that. And then also trying to tackle music as well. My dad was retiring in 2018. I told him, Dad, you're going to be bored in retirement. I know you. So let's go ahead and go into business together. And so we actually, I think 2018 to 2023, we ran a lot of appointments together. We were doing a lot in person at that time. We ran a ton of appointments. So I had a fantastic mentor in terms of, how to talk to people, how to do phone work, things like that. So I think that was huge. And then I think about was it 2022, a woman did come into my life at that time and kind of took a break from music. I realized how important it was to actually make money in life, and really started trying to kind of go more full in with health markets and build this business. So I would say kind of the last probably 3 4 years is where things have really started to grow at a much faster clip for me.
Yeah.
Overall, just putting in a lot more time to it and just seeing how it goes. It's pretty amazing.
And that is interesting to hear from you that it is important to make money in this business. And I've got my daughter is 19 years old right now, and she's in college going into her second year. And we actually had a conversation last night about possibly switching her major, making changes to things. And part of that conversation was really around, I want to put you in a position where you can be successful. And that doesn't mean that certain careers, aren't important work, but money's not everything, but money makes everything a lot easier, right? And I've always said that money equals freedom. And it's not just freedom to have what you want and to do what you want, but also to give back, to take care of your family, and to leave a legacy. And so I think it's interesting for me, from my perspective, to hear you very early in life and in your career, like recognizing that that is a really important thing, and that this particular career can provide that for you. Um,
Hmm.
so, so I want to go back. So what was it like growing up obviously with Tom Sandlin? I mean, he's a legend in
Hmm.
the business, but watching the business, I think Tom came into the business, if I remember right, it was like 1995 maybe is when
Yeah,
Tom,
right when I was born. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So do you have any thoughts, any recollections? I'm just curious, like what's your memory of Tom being in the business? And, I'm sure there was probably some highlights, but there's also probably some lowlights too, and some things that, it's tough in the business. So any thoughts
Yeah. I
about what
mean,
that was like?
yeah, I think one of the coolest things, my dad's larger than life, certainly anybody that knows him, huge personality. But I think the most amazing thing, kind of to go into our business, is the flexibility that it provides.
Hmm.
Really, at the end of the day, growing up, playing baseball, doing all those things, my dad was always there. He had the flexibility to be there when he needed to be there. That's not the case for a lot of people, a lot of jobs. So I think that like that's the highlight for me is that my dad was always present. I don't know how he always made it work because I know you guys stay very busy in leadership, but he was always there and always seemed present, which is I think amazing. And I'm in terms of I'm not sure about Lowe's. I mean, other than I do know our industry has been under attack in many different ways over the years with the ACA, and then obviously things today like non-commissionable plans. There's always things stirring related to our industry, but it weathers the storm. It's an important industry, and it manages to keep on.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think there has always been chaos and volatility in this business. I remember back in 2010-ish when they had initially passed the Affordable Care Act, and we began to realize what that meant, and that many of the insurance companies, their new products were probably going to be completely non-commissionable. They were going to pay us $0 to enroll people in health insurance, and that was our like main bread and butter at that point. I remember that was a very tumultuous time for many of us that were in the business. A lot of crazy volatility. Candidly, I thought we were going to be legislated out of business. And I kind of walked down a path. Tom and I actually spent a lot of time talking about, well, what's our next career together going to be? Because it's probably not going to be insurance because the government just might have legislated us out of business. And I will say, looking back, that's one of the beautiful things about health markets and what our organization has done. In kind of the words of one of our leaders, Ken Fazzola, they've always done a great job of laying track in front of us and creating other opportunities, when opportunities maybe dissipated a bit. And we saw
Mhm.
that we moved into Medicare, we moved into, other types of products, expanded our portfolio, became more than just a one-trick pony. And I know your dad kind of lived that with me, and we worked through that together. So that was really cool. So when did you make the decision? So when did you come into the business? What year was that?
It would have been 2018.
Okay.
I initially, kind of with what was going on with the Affordable Care Act, I think I got my license in 2016.
Okay.
My dad had the intention of kind of in winter time, maybe when things were less busy with classes, I could try to snag some live transfers. I think that's when the commissions had returned on
Yep.
the ACA plans, and he's like, Josh Hounce was making a ton of money just selling ACA and enrolling people. And so he was like, this is a great thing for you to do. At that time, I was very afraid of the phone. I had never worked the phone before in my life. And so I hated being on the phone, talking to people on the phone. But ultimately, then 2018 is when I actually, upon graduating, that's really when I started.
Okay. So it was
Hmm.
like immediately upon graduation, you really jumped in with both feet. I know you had the music thing going too, so you were kind of serving two gods for a season there.
Oh
But
yeah, definitely.
yeah, and I know the beginning is hard. You know, I'd love for you to maybe talk if you can think back a little bit. We've got a lot of new agents in the room and not a lot of new agents on the call. You know, how hard was it, and how did you navigate that as you got started in the business, and what did you do like on a granular level to really get things started?
Yeah, I honestly I think leads were it for me. I didn't have a huge network I didn't do anything before this, so I didn't have like a massive professional connection network to try to lean on for that side. My dad retiring, he just knew agents. He didn't know other people, right? So he didn't have like a massive network that he could kind of help us growing our agency as well. And so I would say we were very lead dependent. Mainly live transfers, honestly, Silas. That was our
Yep.
big thing. We use that to grow the Medicare block, which is my primary focus, and that has served us really well over time. I think that's probably, coming into the business right now is a great time as we're pushing towards open enrollment, getting up and running to where you try to start off on the right foot with open enrollment. It's going to be a massive open enrollment with changes. People are going to be looking for Medicare plans. People are going to be looking a lot for ACA because of what's going on with CareSource. So it's a phenomenal time to be there. Take as many of those calls as you can get. I always tell people I focus on branded now, but I'm sure you can find good business in the affiliates as well. But that is mainly where we started and I started was with live transfers, working those, creating those relationships, getting referrals from the live transfers and building it from there.
Yeah. I want to go back to your degree a little bit. Actuarial science. Like what, I mean, that you got to be borderline genius, number one, to jump into that type of path. And I think you finished pretty highly in your class at Butler, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, very highly overall. Um, yeah, I mean, I basically tell people I went to school for 4 years to do math. So consider yourself warned. But I've had some clients, they say that's why I want to work with you. You're very attentive to detail and you understand how this stuff works. So I think, yeah, that was a huge thing for me. And like I said, was going to be involved in the industry one way or the other.
So I'm sure that coming out of college, I mean, when you're at the top of the class at Butler in actuarial science, I'm sure there's organizations that would love to pull you into their ecosystem and have you, do what you had trained to do.
Mm.
Did you have a lot of offers? Like, I'm just curious, like, why did you go this direction instead of, working into that side of the business?
Yeah, I think I'm a little crazy overall. I had some very good offers coming out of college. But growing up in this business, I saw what the potential was. Ultimately, as an actuary, unless you do push into more like financial roles, there is a ceiling to that.
Mhm.
And you get to it relatively quick as you pass through the different accreditations and tests. And so, I mean, I think I realized that over time, I can make a lot more money doing this, make way more money than actuaries, make more money than doctors, things like that. So I think that was a huge part of it. It's just a matter you got to stay the course and keep on going.
Yeah. Well, and for the newer agents in the room, you haven't all seen the numbers around this, but when you look across our team, we've been averaging 15 to 20% average increases in income year over year over year for 15 plus years. I remember 2018 was the first year that the average agent on our team made over $100,000. I think it was 103,000 that year. And then it's evolved since then. I think last year, the average agent in our territory made about 324,000. And that was the average. And again, I go back to money's not everything, but money makes everything a lot easier, right? And I think it is an important part of taking care of your family and making sure that you can do all the things you want to do. So why are you in Chicago?
Yeah, so that is where I've realized that money is very important because let me tell you, Chicago's expensive.
The
No, but ultimately,
epiphany came when you moved to Chicago, huh?
what'd you say?
I said the epiphany came when you moved to Chicago.
Yes. Well, luckily, I had started to grow things that way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be living here in Chicago.
Right.
But ultimately, my fiance, we got engaged a little over 2 months ago here in Chicago. But
Congratulations.
she's a pediatric nurse practitioner, inpatient, and so she's actually back in school to get her doctorate. And she chose Chicago as the school to go to. She'd gotten into like Ohio State, Duke, all these other places. But with my career, we figured, at least Chicago's close to be able to get to Indianapolis. It's close to my family there in northern Indiana. And so that's how we ended up here in Chicago for her program. And it at least suits my business, modestly. At least it's easy to get back if I need to. We
Right.
live about a 10-minute walk from Wrigley Field, so it's a good place to live. But that's why we're here, at least for now.
Yeah. For a season, right? I mean, that's Chicago's a beautiful city and a lot of fun. And I know that Wrigley area is just awesome. Um,
Absolutely.
so do you have a storefront? I know not everybody knows that, but do you have a storefront? Do you have an office? So like, how do you operate?
So I probably like a little bit more of a unique situation overall. So moving to Chicago, I over the last probably 3 years, I'd kind of started working on some things to potentially put these measures in place. I actually work out of a co-working space, so I know
Mhm.
those have ballooned a lot, over the last 5, maybe 10 years or so. But I have in the pyramids on the north side of Indianapolis, big facility there. I will rent an office when I have in-person appointments.
Yeah.
So I think overall I probably do 80 to 90% of my business over the phone virtually. So it's not as important to me. But ultimately, when I do have those people that do want to meet in person, I use the co-working space to facilitate that.
Yeah, that's great. And I think anybody who lives in a relatively large metropolitan area, those co-op spaces are available. Many times you have, and I don't know how yours is set up exactly, but a lot of times there's a receptionist at the front. It feels very professional. They have conference rooms that you can utilize, and it's kind of pay as you go, right?
Right. Yeah, a little bit of a, less of an upfront investment. I do think ultimately, if I were to end up back in Indianapolis, I think I would do something like a storefront just for structure.
Right.
But obviously, right now, not real feasible, unfortunately, with the current business model I'm operating under.
Sure.
But hopefully, going to get there at some point.
So you said by phone. Does that include virtual? I mean, are you face to face on Zoom a lot, or is it mostly almost all over the phone?
I do it almost all over the phone, Silas. Almost very little Zoom. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I feel like, especially with Medicare, it's such a hassle trying to get people into a Zoom call.
Right.
It kind of drives me nuts sometimes. So I do it all over the phone. I try to just make sure I'm taking my time with people. I will fire off emails, so they can look at something as well. Try to walk them through the process that way. But yeah, I do pretty much all of it right over the phone.
So you said it's a lot of live transfers that you got started on. Are you still working live transfers?
I do during open enrollment. Yeah, so I
Okay.
actually one of the big things I've done and implemented is I know obviously our schedules become crazy during open enrollment time. I very much try to block my schedule, which became very important when we had the 48-hour scope rule because essentially when a live transfer came in, you had to write it on that call. There was no, hey, let me try to call you back, let me do the scope and then call you back because you're going to lose that business. So I've gotten very good about like when they come in, I write them on that call. And so to do that though, you have to block time in a schedule. And so I will do most of my reviews with clients, including like enrollments and things. I try to do them early in the morning, which makes very early mornings here in Chicago being an hour behind.
Right.
But I do a lot of like early morning enrollments and then evening. And then I will try to leave good chunks of time in the middle of my day to take calls during open enrollment.
So what is early morning and late evenings? Like what times are you talking about?
I mean, I'll be on the phone by like 7.
Yep.
Doing if I have a Medicare client that'll talk to me that early, absolutely, I'll do that. I try to be off those kind of appointments by about 10 a.m. And then kind of like, take a lot of calls in that 10 to 4 time. And then
Mhm.
starting about 4 p.m., I'll actually do more like enrollments and reviews and things.
Okay. Are you in multiple states? Are you licensed in multiple states?
I am. So I have obviously Indiana primarily. I have Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. So a lot of those southern ones, Florida, we get a lot of people that move down there. So that's very important, I think, if you're going to do Medicare, to probably have that one, if nothing
Right.
else. But I would say I think I have like a few clients in Michigan. I have maybe one or two in Ohio. And I probably have like 15 to 20 in Florida, and then the rest are Indiana.
Okay. That's
Mhm.
great. I mean,
But I will write all over the state, certainly, since I'm doing it over the phone. I have people all over the state.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Hmm.
so you said heavy focus on Medicare. Are you doing
Hmm.
any ACA at this point?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I will not take a ton of leads associated to ACA. It's more like referrals. Honestly, I get a fair amount of referrals during open enrollment and mid-year where I will absolutely take care of those people. I mean, that's a great pipeline for Medicare. But I wouldn't say I go out of my way to try to get that business as much, probably not as much as I should, because
Sure.
ultimately it is a good, great market to be in to cross sell and things like that. But no, I definitely more Medicare focused, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I think there's just a massive opportunity in that. You figure 11,000 people a day turning 65, and that's going to double over the next 6 years, and then plateau for another decade. It's a massive amount of business coming in. So.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've been rapid firing questions at you, and I have some more questions, but I also had asked Steve Cavajola. You've known Cav, well, actually longer than you've known me, probably. I mean, you have, right? So Cav worked with your dad for many, many years, and together they were my two, mentors in the business and really helped me. But I asked Cav to chime in a little bit here too, because I figured he'd probably have some questions that were uniquely different than questions that I would ask. So, Cav, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to ask AJ, but I'd love to give you a little bit of time to kind of work through some of the questions you might have around how he's done what he's done.
Yeah, I have one specific question because obviously it sounds like your dad trained you. So did you get to watch the Mickey and Minnie Mouse video on how he did a presentation?
I didn't even know that existed, Steve.
Silas, do you remember that?
I actually do. I had forgotten it until you mentioned that, but we might need to try to pull that from the archives.
No, basically Tom did it. He videotaped himself doing a presentation using a Mickey and Minnie Mouse stuffed animal, and that was kind of a running joke. So no, but the biggest thing is so with you focusing on Medicare. Are you just enrolling or are you cross-selling other products?
So that I think is a huge area of improvement for me, Steve. That's something I need to be better on.
Mhm.
I do a ton of Medicare enrollments overall, which is good. It's great income, but I do know that my next big push to grow my business and really get to that next level certainly be cross-selling.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, because that is the secret to. So, do you sell primarily Medicare Advantage or MedSup or both?
I would say it was probably more focused towards Medicare Advantage, over the last 5 years. I think right now we're seeing more of a push towards, people go online, they read the headlines about plan terminations and prior authorization and in Indianapolis, Ascension St. Vincent leaving United Healthcare, even though it didn't happen. But it's creating more of a stir around the Medicare Advantage side. So I think I'm seeing more Medicare supplement enrollments right now, certainly with people doing their own research and wanting that side.
Hmm. And so, as you talk to these people, because you said you need to improve on cross-selling, is it just something that you don't bring up, or are you trying to find a way to incorporate it?
Hmm. I think my biggest thing, Steve, again, I kind of going back to my answer to one of my previous questions is doing everything over the phone.
Hmm.
Not to make an excuse here, certainly, but Medicare ultimately is a very complicated thing. It's very time consuming, even just with the initial enrollment, right? Going through all the copays, making sure they understand. And so I think something for me, I'm very good at simplifying Medicare Advantage and what it is. I think now it's a matter of simplifying the introduction of those products in cross-selling where it's easy for somebody to understand over the phone. And it again, just got to bring it up because like the cancer policy, it's so easy to write. It's just sometimes I neglect to bring it up, right?
Well, call me sometime, I'll teach you.
I should absolutely.
So, do you use any type of technology in addition to what Health Markets provides? Do you have any other types of technologies that you utilize?
So I think one of my big ones that I don't know if anybody else in health markets uses this. I don't know if I'd call it a technology, but it kind of is more of like a time saving thing. I'm looking into what's called thanks.io. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Hmm.
Okay, it's
I
like they
have
have
not.
proprietary software for like handwritten notes and things. So I'm looking at utilizing their technology to send out thank you cards, birthday cards, because it's amazing. It literally looks handwritten, which is a huge part of my business is setting myself apart. Obviously, I don't want to handwrite all those things.
Right.
So, utilizing their technology, I guess called thanks.io. I think that's a neat thing that we could kind of lean into. In terms of other technology, I use the CRM a little bit here and there. Kind of have my own sheets and things that I track, but not a ton.
Do you use any kind of calendar scheduling programs?
I don't. Nope. I like to schedule my own things. So
Okay.
I don't currently. Again, kind of going back to that whole blocking thing, especially during open enrollment, I like to try to control things, a little bit of a control freak. Um, but yeah, I probably could do better on things like that as well.
Okay. One last question. Your dad's been promising me a golf trip with you two, so when we doing that?
Well, we got a little bit of time here before things start going crazy, so maybe we can make it happen quick. I don't know.
Well, talk to him. He seems to be really busy while he's retired, so
I know, right? Jeez, I
when
don't get
you're in
it.
the area. So, but that's
That's a
all I
weird.
have, Silas. So,
That is the weird thing about retired people. I would agree. Tom Sandlin and my parents are some of the most busy retired people. I can't ever seem to track any of them down. So, yeah.
Right.
So, kind of going back to your process a little bit, AJ. What about local marketing? Have you done much from a local marketing perspective? I would presume that's a little bit difficult when you're like bouncing back and forth between Indianapolis and Chicago. But have you done anything there on a local marketing basis?
Yeah, I have. So a huge part of my kind of my flow of leads, ultimately, I really leaned into mailings. I mean, mailings are a huge thing for me. So I spend a lot of money every year doing mailers. I know I talked a little bit about this on Mike's call last Friday with our team, but essentially, I spend a lot of money doing the mailings to turning 65. And kind of a couple important elements that I would say to anybody is these people that are turning 65 are getting so many things in the mail, literally like, a handful every single day. So you have to find something that's going to make yours look different.
Yep.
So I think just any kind of personalized element to that mailer, whether it's like a handwritten address on the card, some kind of note in the actual mailer itself. I think anything like that sets it apart. And then additionally, I will use marketing on demand in between. So I try to send them two personalized pieces in a mailing, plus two through marketing on demand. So ultimately, they're getting at least 4 to 5 mailers from me, kind of in that initial enrollment window, somewhere in there. I like to start kind of right as they're entering IEP. You'll get some people that'll call right away because yours is unique. It stands out. They're going to call because of that. Other ones, it takes literally hitting them 4 times before they say, "Well, hey, I got multiple of these things from you, and I see you're local. I see it's handwritten. Can you help me with this?" And so usually it's, that is obviously time consuming. It is expensive, but a lot of the leads that come from that are dynamite leads. I mean, just lay down leads, and you're going to get a lot of good referrals from those people as well. Those are the kind of appointments that I would say I'm more tempted to run in person. They're aging in the summertime whenever we have more time then. Those are ones that I will run in person to make them more of a lifelong client. But I would say in terms of like local mailing, I think that has been a huge local strategy for me. I do also do the seminars. So seminars have been a part of my strategy now for the last year and a half. Kind of hit or miss on those, I would say. Sometimes like, you'll get a good crowd there that people seem very attentive. The hardest part is the follow-up. It's really hard to actually pin the people down and create motion with them, essentially. Even ones that are good leads, it's hard to get them going. So I
Right.
would say those are two big things. And then I've leaned into like an internet presence. I think that's my newest thing I'm trying to do. I know Steve, you've talked about this on some of the other calls, trying to get the Google reviews up. I'm in the infancy of that, but even in the infancy, it's been amazing some of the leads I've got from that. So I think I would even lean into potentially like doing minor marketing dollars towards like your Google business and seeing what that would do in terms of like search engine optimization and things.
Yeah. Well, and I know a lot of our agents have really embraced the idea of building out their Google reviews. I know personally, our goal was to get to 100 this year, and we're at 79 as of today. But I look at Cav, he's got a couple hundred. I know Laura Dennison pushing 400. Tony
Yeah,
Letcher's got
it's
over
amazing.
100. And I think that
Yeah.
does, when people are searching for a local agent, I feel like how consumers shop for insurance has shifted here, from putting their information into a form online. People do that once and then they get blown up and then they realize I'm never going to do that again.
Right.
So I think consumer behavior has shifted to say, I'm not going to put my information on a form. I'm going to go out and I'm going to Google local resources and try to find a local agent and do my due diligence and then reach out to them directly. We probably get five, six, seven incoming leads a month right now, just personally. And I ask where they found us. They're like, oh, we're local and we saw your Google reviews and saw you had a bunch of good Google reviews. And so we'd like to work with you. So I would tell all of you that are newer in the room, or those of you that don't have a Google review or an online presence, that's a really great, great place to start.
Yeah, and so Saz, I will touch on that as well. In terms of Steve, you were asking about technology. I guess one other one I would throw out there is ChatGPT. So kind of like leaning into some of these AI things. I have ChatGPT design me newsletters and things. I will consult like my business strategy with ChatGPT. I will ask it, hey, I'm trying to build an internet presence. What is the best way to go about this? What can I do to push me up the search engines? And the funny thing is, it actually said like your goal should be to get to 75 reviews. If you do that, you will be a very established local presence and you will outrank most of the people that are looking in the Indianapolis area at least. So that was the big thing that it said to establish. The leads are phenomenal from it. It's super low cost as well. So I think if I was starting in the business today, that would be the area I'd focus on is leveraging that, get as many reviews as possible. I would do videos. I would put out like a lot of 1 to 2 minute talking videos. That's actually my next evolution of my business is to do that, become a source of education in the community. So when people do go search, they have like these quick hit videos they can watch and learn about Medicare or whatever. And then all of a sudden you are a huge leg up over anybody else they would be looking at because they've seen you face to face, they've heard you talk. I mean, that's got to be a fantastic lead. So I think like leveraging those two things, super low cost, and people
Yep.
will find you.
Yep. And I think when you're thinking about Google reviews and building them, you got to think about like, when are you going to strike, right? I think you got to strike like when the iron's hot and when they're happy. And usually that's, in my opinion, immediately post sale. They bought something from you. They liked you enough to buy something from you. It's probably the appropriate time to begin asking for Google reviews. And so we've really tried to build that into a part of our post sale process. And I kind of want to go there with you. Like, do you have a post sale process? Once you sign a new client, what happens from that point forward?
Yeah, so I try to stay in touch with them. Certainly, you got your thank you card, things like that. I would say that is something I also need to work on is trying to push for those Google reviews. Again, I'm doing a lot over the phone. So in my email signature, I have, leave the Google review, which I've gotten a fair amount on that just passively as well. Um, One of the other huge parts about my business from a retention standpoint, again, doing a lot over the phone is newsletters. So that is a huge part of my post-sale process is I have a newsletter that I have worked religiously on. I get that out to clients. I send it via mail. I send it via email, things like that. I think that's a huge retention point every quarter. And I'll send them business cards as well with it. I get a lot of referrals from that.
So that's a quarterly newsletter. So 4 times a year, you're sending it out to all your clients.
Correct.
What's in it?
Yeah, so I actually, if I can screen share, I actually have a copy of it here. I could
Yeah,
put it
go
up. I
ahead
don't know
and
how easy it'll
I
be
think
for
all you got
people
to
to
do is hit
see.
share, and then I've got to maybe hit OK so you can.
Yeah, here, let me hit send request.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so let's see here, see if it lets me do it now. Let's share. Okay, that's all right. So I don't know how easy this is for people to see. This is the one. Are you able to see it, Silas?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so this is the one I just made with ChatGPT. So kind of what I'm talking about here is changes to Medicare, the subsidies going away with Part D. So people will probably see some increased cost to Part D ultimately. So hey, make sure you pay attention to your annual notice of change. It's going to be coming soon. Same thing, 2027 watch list, what to expect this fall. Talk about expect some changes, make sure you look at your ANOC, use your extra benefits because those things may be going away next year. Those kind of things, plans may be terminated. I try to put some kind of personal note in these newsletters. So this was about my engagement. You can see our picture down here. So I will do that. I'll maybe talk about our animals. We have a dog, 2 cats. If you have a family, maybe put some, personal anecdotes in there about that. Just again, trying to separate yourself from other people, essentially, build
This
that
is really good.
relationship.
I
Yeah, I
like
thought
the
it turned out
layout.
awesome. I typed up most of the stuff, like the content of this. Then I had ChatGPT like clean it up, and then ultimately said, "Hey, with this text, can you turn it into a newsletter? Here's an example of what I want it to look like." And this is what they came up with.
Yeah, I think it's really sharp. And it's one page. There's a lot of
Hmm.
great information on there. I think sometimes you see newsletters and they're like they just got all this fluffy stuff or things that you don't need in them, but this is really pertinent. You don't have any
Mhm.
recipes in there or stupid stuff like that. It's
Right.
like really pertinent information.
Yeah, so I think this is huge. This is actually going to go out here in probably like a week or so. I'm going to include with this my renewal letter for Medicare. I'm going to send them together, letting them know, hey, you're going to be getting a call from me in September. We're coming up on renewal time, and I will include business cards in this for sure to make sure you'll notice there's always referral asks on these things.
Yeah, for sure. That looks
So I
really
think
good.
this has been a huge part of my post sale process. So I think the newsletters, I get so many comments about this.
Yeah, I think that's really great. So I know
Mhm.
we've got a couple of agents that actually have magazines that they send out to all of their existing clients, which I think is helpful as well. It's got a lot of advertising and pertinent information inside of it. But I really like this because it's simple, it's easy. Somebody can glance at this and yeah, very, very well done.
Yeah,
Um,
and then while I'm sharing this as well, just I think you guys can price this. So this I was talking about thanks.io earlier, the handwritten things.
yep.
This is something I'm like continuing to work on trying to leverage to save time. But so this is one of our marketing on demand confused by Medicare postcards. So that's the first page. If I go down then, so they'll actually like pull the first name from the mailing. So Paul, and it'll put Paul's name on here and with the handwritten note on it.
So is this Thanks IO doing this for you and putting
Yeah,
this into
thanks.io.
the
Yep, I just upload the list. I took one of our marketing on demand postcards, put it in here, and then I customized this message. I thought it was like a pretty powerful message about Medicare is confusing. I'm local. I have an office in the pyramids in Indianapolis. Can help you at no cost. And
is that
then
your
call.
handwriting?
It's not. Nope. So they have about 15 to 20 different ones you can choose from. So this is the
Okay.
one I felt looked like it was like one of the easiest ones to read, and it looks pretty good.
I was gonna say that's really good handwriting. I did mine isn't anything close to that, so we couldn't duplicate mine, but yeah, but that looks great. And then you've got marketing on demand pulling your list for this.
it's called Data Axle is who I use. So
Okay.
I kind of go outside of it. I find theirs are pretty accurate. I would say on like a 1,000 piece mailer, theirs is about 90% accurate. So
And
as I get some of them returned, I'll sift out about 100 of them over time.
so what's the demographic that you're targeting with this?
Yeah, turning 65. So I will do it all around the local Indianapolis area. So like Marion County, the northern suburbs of Indianapolis. I'll even push to the south side. I get a surprising amount of calls from the south side of Indianapolis. But just, I mean, very local to me, probably all within what, 20, 30 miles essentially. And I will start mailing them, say like if we are doing October, I would start mailing them again at the beginning of their initial enrollment window. So 3 months prior to their birth month.
Okay.
At least you can take action. I think you could probably get away with doing it earlier and starting to establish the relationship. But the Medicare stuff is so competitive. I find it's very powerful when they call you and you can take action almost right away. Those are pretty much locks then.
So you're using marketing on demand to send some of these, and then you're sending some of them personally yourself. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah. Kind of
manually
like
do them
the
all yourself, or do you have another organization that does it for you?
for what, Silas?
With the ones that you send that aren't
Hmm.
pushed through marketing on demand, are you doing all those manually yourself, or
I
do you
do.
have a
Yep. I do a fair amount of those. Yeah. And I will
okay?
again, I think the personalized element actually seeing like a forever stamp on it.
Yeah,
Again, that sets it apart from anything like this that's a more corporate mailer that they're getting.
right. I would agree. It looks much more real. How many are you
Um,
sending like per month? What's your average amount of mailers going out on a monthly basis?
yeah, so I do this year I tackled three. So I did 3,000 piece mailers. I think I did aging in June, August, and October. Those were my three big months.
Okay.
And again, I would essentially account for about 6,000 of them on my own. Do two handwritten ones for each one of those waves. So six of them, and then the other six are coming through marketing on demand.
Okay.
So I'm taking on some of the work associated. So this, like I said, time consuming, but ultimately, if you're trying to build a Medicare practice, this is a great way to get leads. It's you have time or money. This one does take some time, takes some money, but it is a good way to build a practice.
And then that QR code, does that take them to your marketing website?
Yeah, it actually takes them to the Health Markets website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
The health
hmm
market marketing website. Okay.
hmm
That's really
yeah,
good.
yeah. So kind of again, I rely a lot on the mailings, but
So how has your business grown over the last few years? I know you've been doing more and more, and I've seen you climbing the production charts.
Mhm.
But you want to talk to the team a little bit about how, how it has grown and maybe, I mean, obviously a lot of the things you're doing are the catalyst for that, but you've seen some nice
Mhm.
growth.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think obviously referrals, the longer you're in the business, you start getting more and more referrals. So I don't think I'm not quite at your referral number, certainly. But I would say I push like 100, 150 referrals a year, which is, I mean,
Yeah.
that's awesome for me. I think that's really cool. I think a huge untapped potential again is going to be the internet, like seeing the business explode. I think if I can really lean into that, get more reviews and grow that, I think it'll grow even faster. To Steve's point, I think cross-selling.
Yeah.
I would see a massive just right now. I like the residual nature of Medicare. I love how it's like hands off, pretty easy. You're building this amazing block. But I think again to take things FYCRs to the next level and build a little bit of even a bigger income would be, selling the hospital indemnity. That would be the easiest next one for me to really tackle.
Yeah. The Advantage Guard, the accident wise, those are the critical guard guaranteed issue products. Those are really great opportunities to
Hmm.
cross sell. And I would tell you, for any of you out there who are trying to figure out how to cross sell in the senior market, I'll tell you, it took us decades to kind of crack that code. I think over the last 2 years, though, Kevin McIntyre has done an incredible job of kind of breaking that glass ceiling for us. And I'll just put a quick plug out there. If you guys go to the Jessup Territory YouTube channel, there's one playlist on there that is special guest speakers, and there's two different sessions on there that I recorded of Kevin McIntyre talking to our Northern Indiana team. One was last September, right before open enrollment, telling us what he was going to do and the process that he was going to engage in to cross-sell in the senior market. And then I think the second one was in February, where he had executed his plan, and then he came back and said, "Okay, how did I become the number one agent in the nation selling Advantage Guard over that short season?" I told our Northern Indiana team this, but last Monday and Tuesday, Kevin and I were invited to fly out to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it was because Golden Rule wanted to interview him and by extension myself and talk through, how do you cross sell in the senior market? And it was really interesting because we knew Kevin was crushing it. We didn't realize how well he was crushing it though. So we got out there and they told us out of the 65,000 brokers nationwide, Kevin was the number one Advantage Guard seller in the entire country. In volume, he was also number one in persistency, which means keeping people on the books. And so he's doing some pretty incredible things. So for anybody out there, I'm not talking to you necessarily, AJ, but anybody else out there who wants to, get better at cross-selling in that senior market, I think those two videos on the YouTube channel could be really helpful and impactful. It's just a matter of sequence and positioning, I think are kind of the things that he really, really speaks about. So
Yeah, and so that's one thing I'd say it's easy one to lead into. Honestly, I know Steve had talked about this on a call a few weeks ago, dental insurance. It pays well, and even though, we can kind of see through it, it's not the sharpest product. It's ultimately you're maybe going to make a little bit of money off of it. People want it. And
right.
so I started out, I didn't really believe in it. I wouldn't sell it because I'm like, hey, it's not, this is just, why would you want this? Then I realized, hey, people are going to buy it. They're not going to buy it from me if I don't offer it. So I'm just going to start talking about it. And I sell a fair amount of like dental insurance because it's people ask about it. It's one of the only products people actually ask about, right?
Yeah.
And so it's one that you guys got to offer that, so people will buy it.
And I also think to your point, it's the one product where you can literally say, "Hey, do you want dental?" And everybody's like, or not everybody, but 90% of people are like, "Yeah, I want it," without even telling them what it is or what it costs. They're just like immediately their instinct is, "I want it."
Mhm.
So I would totally agree with that. And I made a mistake for many years in my career because I sold away from it. I said, "I don't think it's a good value." I would talk them out of it. Now, on one hand, I think it built some credibility, and hopefully I could take the dollars that I would spend there and reallocate them to a different product that might have a bigger impact. But I would say over the last couple of years, I've just kind of like said, go with the flow. Why fight it? If people want to buy it, I'll sell it. Because to your point, they're going to buy it somewhere if they don't buy it from me, right?
Yeah.
So you've talked a little bit about it, but I know you're super intelligent. You're very articulate with your time and how you spend your time. But I'm just curious, like moving forward and looking forward, what are some big things you're going to change in your practice, or you're looking to change in your practice over the next year or so?
Yeah, I think unfortunately I'm pushing towards potentially an assistant at some point in the future. I'm kind of getting there. I like Steve's model of not having to worry about any assistants, but it is getting to the point where it's hard for me to get away. I'm kind of like OCD, and like I said, I like to have all the control, and so it's hard to get past that point. But you get to a point where you're getting enough calls, and you're just tired of dealing with some of the crap, if you will. Where I think I could probably make that a big growth step. I think some of that will come into play once this move to Chicago's passed. And I think some of that's kind of sent me into a little bit of a kind of an awkward position on certain things. So I think that would help being back in Indianapolis and growing that with an assistant and potentially sub agents and things like that. That's a cool business model.
I think it really is. I mean, there's always headaches that come with employees and staff and things you've got to work through. But overall, I do think when you get the right people in the right seats, it makes your life easier. And it's all
Mhm.
about, someone laying track in front of you and someone cleaning up messes behind you. We talked about it a little bit this morning in our new agent training that, I think it was Ken Fazzola, who was our president for about 9 years. He said to me once, he said, once you get to about 500 clients, you probably need some level of help. And so that's when a lot of people, I think, hit that mark and they're like, okay, I need to hire someone administrative, somebody to answer the phones, a friendly voice just to run interference for me so that I'm not having to, react or respond in the moment to incoming calls and things. And then it kind of builds from there. And many of our agents across the territory have built pretty large enterprises with, four, five, six, seven, eight employees that are helping guide them. So
Mhm.
I think that's an obvious next step. And I think once you do it, man, you'll really be thankful you did it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. That's right where I'm at. I'm probably pushing 600 clients now. And so I'm kind of at that stage. And
you're feeling it.
yeah, exactly. And I do have kind of a commitment to my clients, not in writing or anything, but I try to get back to people within like 30 minutes to an hour if I can't answer their call directly. So I try to be very quick. I think that's super powerful. That you get a lot of referrals when you're quick and you actually do return calls. But it takes its toll over time, certainly.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, and like
Mhm.
within my team, I don't answer phone calls, incoming phone calls anymore, but I've set the expectation that I want 80% of the incoming calls answered immediately. And so we really work that. It's something we track every single week. Part of our um, Monday staff meeting is like looking back the last week and saying, did we answer 80% of the incoming calls immediately? And I know it's impossible to get to every single one, but
Yeah.
ultimately, I think totally agree with you. So
Mhm.
I'm just curious. I think you've done some pretty impressive things over the course of your career. Obviously, you came into this with uniquely different perspective and probably different background and training than a lot of people coming into the business. But what are you doing in your business that you think a lot of other agents are not doing? Like, what's that unique thing that you're doing that you're like, because I know you observe and you look around. We all do. We look at our peers. We look at how other people are running practices. We try to, take the good and discard the bad. But I'm just curious. Is there something you think like this is something I'm doing uniquely different than everybody else?
Ugh, that's a good question. That's a tough one. I would actually kind of go back to what I just said. I do think as agents, it's hard to get to the phone all the time, but I really do like try hard to answer the incoming calls, especially for newer clients, because it's so competitive. If you don't answer the calls, don't return them quick, they're going to go buy something from somebody else. I believe that.
Yep.
And so I would say like just customer service in general. I try to be so on top of that, be so quick to get back to people. And I was telling my dad, I'm kind of a glorified Medicare babysitter basically for people in that I try to take like a very gentle, calming approach. I think I'm very good at simplifying and calming people in what is a very stressful situation. I think a lot of us are probably good at that. That's why we have nice Medicare practices.
Right.
But I think that's so important. At the end of the day, they're going to buy from somebody that's calm, put together, and reassuring them. So
Yeah.
I think I'm very good about just, oh, this is going to be good. You're going to love this. It's all going to work out.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I think that's very well said. So, talking to the new agents, you've obviously been in this business a while, but you've seen over the course of your lifetime a lot of agents come into the business and struggle to get things off the ground. Is there something that you think new agents should know about the business that they probably do not, or any thoughts around that?
they would just see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You just got to stick the course. It's as long as you can hang in there. This pays so well. This pays so well. It's not going where it's a great time to be in the business. Like I talked about with the ACA, I mean, CareSource, there's going to be a ton of people out there shopping this fall on the ACA marketplace, rate increases, being able to sell them other things. Medicare, I already know that Humana's like pulling their Humana Gold Plus from a lot of the rural counties around Indiana. So we're going to have a huge amount of people that we can help there as well. So it's a great time to be in the business in that there's a lot of disruption right now. It has its headaches as well, but man, if you can stick the course and take as many of those incoming calls as you can get, there is business in those, and you will be able to grow. It's got to hang in there long enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very well said. Well, AJ, is there anything else you'd like to share with the team that's out there? We've got about 36 people that tuned in to listen to you today. I know your dad was texting me over the weekend. He was not only proud of what you've accomplished, but excited that you kind of had this forum to share a little bit about what you've done in the business. Are there any other thoughts or insights or tips or things that you'd like to share from your perspective, with a lot of the agents that are out there?
Yeah, I would say, again, I would focus on growing your internet presence. I think that's an area at Health Markets we've been a little bit slower on. I know some agents have done a great job. I think just looking at it from my perspective, that is a phenomenal low cost way to get your name out there. And I mean, just like you said, Silas, that's how people shop it now. They're going to go look you up. And so that
Right.
is the new referral. You're getting referred from the internet, right? And so you got to be at the top of the list. And it's a super low cost way. It doesn't take people very long to go leave a review. So that's what my focus is right now, as far as I'm concerned. Even making these outbound calls in September, I'm going to ask people to go leave me a review while I'm on the phone with them, and just hope that that pays me in dividends, which I think it will.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, you're doing some incredible things. I'm really excited because for you because I think you've got not only a lot of potential in this business, but I think you're a natural leader in the organization too. And so I'm excited as time evolves to help you, potentially move that direction as well. I think with what your dad did for me, I'd love to help you do similar things over the course of your career. So really, I know your father's incredibly proud of what you've done. And I'm really excited to have you as a part of our team now. I know we've, obviously known each other for a long time, but it's very recently here we've had the opportunity to work together when Mike's team and you guys were, had the opportunity to begin working next to us again. So really excited about where this is going to go. So I want
Absolutely
to take a
happy to
look.
be here.
I want to take a look at the chat box and just see if there are any questions that jumped out. So Holtzy had asked, do you use your address at the pyramids, even though it's a shared space? Are you able to use that as an address for like mailings and things like that?
That's a good question. So I sometimes I will. A lot of times I actually have a PO box there in the Indianapolis area. I will utilize that to get those back. So like through the post office, you can actually make it look like a legitimate address, so if somebody doesn't know that they're mailing back to a post office necessarily. But I will primarily use that to get those return to senders back, so I can fish them out of the mailing because it's that saves a lot of money over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great
Well,
question.
yeah. Well, you've got some great things going on, buddy, and it's fun to watch you from a little bit from afar right now. Jarko asked if you've ever been mistaken for Nicolas Cage. I
I
didn't see
have,
that
yes, I have multiple
connection.
times.
That's really great. You can see it? Okay. People in the room can actually see it too, so that's
Yeah,
that's
it's
great.
it's a good prop to have. He's a popular guy, so
Yeah, he's a popular, good-looking dude, just like
yeah,
you.
there you
So.
go. Exactly.
I also, Holtzy also commented on the fact that you've got short hair because you had longer hair there for a while especially when you were pursuing the music business, right?
I did. I had to clean it up. Yeah, I figured I was gonna go ahead and go all out in the insurance, so I had to clean it up a little bit.
Are you still playing music at all?
I am a little bit. I've actually delved into some of the stuff with AI music. It's just amazing what it can do. So I've actually been repurposing a lot of my songs through the AI side of things, and look at potentially like selling that side of things. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. There's a lot of copyright stuff going on there right now, but yes, I unfortunately don't have as much time to play though as I would like.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really cool because it's something. When did you start playing music? You it was later in the
So yeah, probably about 2016, I would say.
2016. So it hasn't been that long, but you just had a knack for it. I know you played a couple of the events that we had hosted early on.
Mhm.
So if anybody on the call wanted to check you out from a music perspective, how would they go about doing that? Where would they find you and where could they listen to your songs?
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere. I actually have two different brands. So initially it was AJ Sandlin, A.J. Sandlin, and then I rebranded as AJ Oliver because Sandlin's hard to spell. Everybody always asks me what. So I rebranded with AJ Oliver. So two different kind of brands of music, but
Yeah.
yep,
And you've got
all the
a
different
lot
platforms.
You've got a lot of your own original stuff that you've written too,
Oh yeah,
correct?
that's almost all original. And if you go like Spotify, Apple Music, any of those, it's all original stuff.
Yeah, very cool, man. I've
Yeah.
always I've always wished I had more musical talent. I love music. I love concerts. Really love it. I wish I get. I have no talent myself, though. I actually told my wife the other night we were doing a little booze cruise on the boat, and I said, I think when I retire, I'm going to take guitar lessons. I need to figure out how to play guitar. She's
Yeah,
like, well, you
I
can
can
do it
see
now.
it.
Like, oh,
You could grow your hair out then, right? Get your hair going.
oh man, going back to the college days, I don't know. My problem is mine turns into an afro if I grow it out. So if
It
you've seen
works.
you haven't seen Maeve recently, my youngest daughter, she's got this amazing head of hair. I mean, it's unbelievable right now. She's a freshman, and people are like texting us like, "What is going on with Maeve's hair?" I mean, it's just incredible. And that's her hair is what mine would look like if I let it grow. So
So I'll
I
have
don't
to
know if
check it
that's in the
out.
cards. I could rock a mullet too, Cav. I could do that. I did that back in the day. I think when I met you, I probably had a mullet. Come a long way. So, well, AJ,
Yeah.
this has been really fun for me. Is it okay if I share this interview with your dad?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. He was asking for it. So I'm like,
Yep.
we haven't done it yet. Just give me a minute. I got to like do the interview first and then I'll send it to you. So
He's retired and he's impatient now.
he is retired and impatient. He's never been a very patient person, though, at
That's
least all
true.
the
That's
years that I've
true.
known. So, well, hey, buddy, we appreciate you joining us today. Everybody on the call, I hope you pulled something from AJ's commentary today. I'd encourage you to go check him out on Spotify. We're not trying to sell anything there, but he's a talented musician. And if you get the opportunity to engage with him in meetings and things, he's definitely worth asking questions and picking his brain. So,
Yep.
AJ, if
I'm
there's
sure I'll
anything
be at some of your meetings coming up here as well, Silas. So
that sounds great. Well, if you need anything or there's anything I can do to help you, don't hesitate to reach out. Everybody, we really appreciate you being here. We're working to set up next week's ADT session. So I don't have my speaker yet. I've got a couple of people that we're working through and trying to see if we can lock them in. But we're going to continue a couple more weeks of the summer speaker series. Again, we appreciate you all being here. I hope you have a great rest of the week and get those AHIP and Medicare certifications done. So take care, everybody. Thanks for being here today. We'll see you.
yeah, thanks, Silas.
See you, buddy. Thank you.